Can I ask a quick question?
Sure, Rory, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Are you videoing this?
I am recording it, yes.
All right, thank you. Because I might have to step out. I'm very interested in the topic.
Okay, yeah, it will be sent out. The recording will be sent out within the next week is when we format it and put it into our YouTube format. We'll be able to send it out to all of our members. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Eric and enjoy the training, everyone. Thank you.
Enjoy the training on COVID-19, right? On cleaning. Good morning, everybody. Everybody hear me okay? If you can't, if something happened, oh, you guys all froze on me. Am I good?
No, you're
Ryan,
you're good.
You're good. All right. So I'd like to start. I'm going to give you a quick background introduction just so you know who's talking to you and you guys hopefully can trust the source. But I do want to add a few things as we go. I really want to make this available to answer your questions. I did my best to assume certain questions that were going to be had and topics that Brian and I talked about that would make sense for y'all. But if you have questions, you can type in the chat box. If you know how to do that, I've got that open. You can type the question in the chat box and I can go back and read through those and make sure I address those, or just, at the end, we can do some Q&A, or feel free to interrupt me if that's the case too. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. This morning, I have some examples I'm going to show you, some slides I'm going to switch over to as well as we go on. But again, my name is Eric Anderson, and our company is EnviroClean Restore. We've been a restoration company since 1983 for a long time here, based in Smithfield, Rhode Island, primarily focusing on fire, water damage stuff. In 2001, we started getting into indoor air quality. That's when I joined the company. In 2001, focused on mold remediation and issues of air quality, and I've grown that business. A couple years into that, we did our first virus cleanup. So I think 2004 was our first virus cleanup, and we've done a handful of different types of virus cleanup, different methodologies from high heat to destroy it in buildings to different types of chemicals depending on what it is. Worked in a variety of schools, universities, town halls, city halls, workplaces, warehouses, so on. Since COVID-19 hit, and I believe I was part of, I get a brief presentation at Rhode Island School Maintenance Directors Lunch and Learn, and we just touched on that. I looked at the slides, it was just coming out then. And so a lot of new information is coming out, and it continues to come out. And I just want to caution that we all know, if there's 30 people in this Zoom meeting right now, that there's a variety of opinions. There are a lot of opinions out there as to the best ways to clean, the best ways to handle this, masks, no masks, going back to school, don't go back to school, you name it, right? And so I'm going by a combination of my beliefs, information I've read, and the information that's provided by governing bodies like the CDC and the EPA, because that's where we have to abide by. So you may have a different personal opinion to something I say, and that's totally okay. But I want to look out in your best interest, both for your school, for your buildings, for your family, based on following these recommended guidelines. So I'd like to start with something simple and just talk about masks for a minute. And the different types of masks that are available. As staff, your staff is going to have to wear masks, the students will be wearing masks, and the importance of that and actually what they can do. And I'm happy to send out a link. I didn't put this down, there's a really neat link. I watch a YouTuber do some experiments with it, kind of like Mythbusters, using flames and to show the efficacy of these masks, protecting those who are not wearing it, right? So everybody knows what a P100 or an N95 mask is. And an N95 is designed to protect the person wearing it. An N95 will collect 95% of particulate down to 0.3 microns in size. Now, so that's important to know. An N95 filter will trap down to 0.3 microns in size, 99.97%. I'm sorry, 0.1 microns in size for the N95 and the P100s. The COVID-19 virus or coronavirus is approximately 0.12 to 0.15 microns in size. So it's slightly bigger than what the N95s and the P100s are rated for. So when you have an N95 And here's a disposable one. And the reason this one's only 95% effective is because it's not sealed. Okay, so you're gonna get a decent seal, and if you have a beard like myself, you're gonna lose some of that. But this is designed for the person wearing the mask. As you'll see on this one, it's got a little flap here in the front that's designed to help you breathe and exhale. So this is not designed for the person on the other end. It's designed to protect the person wearing it. Whereas the surgical masks, the ones without, this is an N95 without that. Okay, so this will be much more effective for those others. So I'm wearing a mask like this. In our case, well, in my case anyway, I wear the neck tubes, the gaiters, and I know there's a variety of information now coming out about these, and I find them easy, so I pull this up on and off. And you can wear the surgical masks or all the double cloth ones and what have you, and they're important, but they're important for the other people in the room, right? So that I'm not breathing and projecting my droplets. So you're gonna hear me talk about droplets today, and I don't want to project my droplets onto somebody else. I don't want to cough, sneeze, even breathe in their direction. And that's what the mask is doing. So that just puts that shield up for that. What's critical though with wearing a mask too is having your hand sanitizers and everything too, because what happens is you're constantly touching it, right? We're touching and adjusting and touching and adjusting. And so make sure that hands are cleaned on a regular basis. And so I'll jump ahead for a second with respect to your schools or your buildings, making sure that you have hand sanitizer stations set up, readily available, easily available for everybody, whether they're in the classrooms, the hallways, what have you, and encourage hand washing, even more importantly. Certainly important. The other PPE, so this is another mask that's out there too. So this is one that's going to be much more effective than any of the disposables. And you can get the actual seal here. So this is what our guys use when they're doing COVID cleanup. So we'd be doing property damage or response. My guys wear this because they're protecting themselves as well. So if you're doing, we're going to get into, I'll save that for the end when you guys are doing potentially hotspots or positive cases. And the last bit that you would need to is, I hope you guys are all stocking up on your nitrile gloves. These are important for touching any type of chemical, any kind of cleaning. You want to make sure you use these. Now, when you're using the glove, I know I'm probably dumbing it down a little bit, but the gloves on, it's important knowing how to dispose and remove of these gloves too. So if you're cleaning an area or you're working with a student that may, whatever reason, take the glove, you don't want to be just pulling it off by the fingertips on the outside and adjusting that, right? Because this is just another surface. So you want to make sure you can stick your finger underneath here, or if you have two gloves on, you can pull off with one, and then the other glove, when you have the clean hand, stick your finger underneath it in here and pull it off backwards this way. So now it's inside out, and that's how you can dispose of it. Okay, moving on. I'd like to talk about chemicals for a while, and I think that's going to be the most important thing that we discuss today, is the importance of what chemicals you're using, how you're using them, and all of that. So, and the difference between cleaning and disinfection. So I'm gonna try to do a screen share here and see if I get this right. Okay. So we want to go into the importance of what we're cleaning. So I'm going to talk about what and how we're cleaning certain things right now, and the difference between cleaning and disinfecting. So cleaning is, in essence, removing soil, removing something from that surface, right? So you're washing. Think of you have dirty hands, okay? And I often talk about this when I'm teaching about mold classes, and the importance of why bleach is not an effective agent for mold. Well, similarly for COVID, cleaning is a very important step, and making sure that we clean surfaces from residual, from dust, from dirt, what have you. So if I have dirty hands, if I've been gardening all day, I don't just go and wash my hands with bleach, right? Now that may take some of the dirt off, but I need to clean them first. And so I go to the faucet and I grab some soap. I need a surfactant, some kind of agent that's going to pull the dirt off. And I wash my hands thoroughly in the sink. Counter to that would be disinfecting, where if I want to disinfect, that would be my hand sanitizer, right? My hand sanitizer is not going to clean my hand. It's going to disinfect everything on my hands, but anything that's on there is still actually there. Okay, so that's important to know. So, and that's the difference of wiping down something versus and wiping it thoroughly versus just applying something and just spraying that on. Okay, does that make sense? I guess it's hard for me to, that's when I look for my audience and say, or my class, and I get the head nods and everything, and I can't see anybody. So hopefully you guys are still following me and I'm not talking to myself. So that's important to know. So things that you want to clean. Let's talk about that for a few minutes. And you can see on the list on the lower left-hand corner there, things and areas that you need to clean and disinfect, okay? The most important things in school are your high touch points, your community touch points, right? Your hallways, that's going to be railings, that's going to be doorknobs, that'll be, think shoulder or head height down, okay? So 8 feet up, you don't have to worry about so much, but where areas where people could sneeze or make physical contact with, you know, when kids are going to be wiping their noses, they're going to be sneezing into their masks, they're going to be pulling them on and off and sweating. It's summertime, right? And all this is they're going to be touching things after touching their fluids on their body. And so we want to touch doorknobs and door handles, desks, desktops, desk chairs, the backs of the desk chairs, you know, sliding them in and out, computer keyboards and mice. Light switches are really important. Pencil sharpeners, if they have them, sinks and areas, countertops, desks, teacher desks, any electronics that they're shared, other areas there, locker switches up and down or combination things. The list can go on and on. And that's important for that wipe down process. Now, how should we clean these areas? I'm going to get into the fogging and the misting and the spraying shortly, but the key is going to be in that wiping process and making sure every surface is thoroughly wiped. Now, I'm going to take a piece of paper here. Let's pretend for a minute that this is a rag. There's a few thoughts that go into this. I'm a fan of carrying a bucket and wiping things down with the rag, a bucket full of the chemical, and you can dip it, versus just spraying it down and then wiping off the spray. And I say that because when you spray, sometimes you get that air current. The blast is coming, and that can push some things airborne. So what you're spraying and how you're spraying is in fact important. But with the wiping down process, I like to get sides of 8. So you fold your rag in half, and you fold it in half again. And what this does is it gives you a nice flat surface. Pretend this is a cloth or a paper towel or whatever cleaning rags you're using. Now I have 8 clean surfaces. So I'm going to use, and they're nice and flat. And it's going to get more efficiency out of both the chemical that you're using and the rag that you're using. So this is side 1, and I wipe my areas with this for a period, then I flip it, and you go side 2, and you can fold it inside and out. Sides 3 and 4, and guess what? I got 4 more sides. I do this. So now I've used maximum surface of this rag, and I've spread that around. That's if you're cleaning. When you're disinfecting, coverage is really important. So when you're disinfecting, if this is covered or soaked in a disinfectant, then I'm not so much worried about it's going to kill everything that's on this, right? So the cleaning agent, you're going to see this get filled up with debris and dirt. And so the disinfecting could be a little bit different, but making sure that gives you maximum coverage area. Everybody with me so far? Okay, so now I want to talk about, let's go to the next, how do I get out of here? Oh, here we go. Let's see if that works. Hey, look at that, it worked. Okay, sip here. I'd like to talk about the chemicals for a few minutes and the types of chemicals that are available that you guys are using and seeing out there. I'm not sure where you guys buy your materials. I'm sure you have janitorial supply companies and that are out there either promoting a certain product or talking with you. Now, the EPA, I do have a list here. Let's see if I can post that link for you first. Actually, I'm gonna do that first. I want to send this. I'm going to give you guys a link right now of all the, whoops, there we go. In the chat box is a link to the EPA's list of approved chemicals. So if you guys go to that, you can see that. I was going to print that up for you, but it's way too long. So basically, the list is growing quickly as to approved chemicals by the EPA. And you can use everything from, Clorox wipes, which we use for wiping down things. These are fantastic, pre-made, and these will work. Kills 99% of all viruses, so on and so forth. You can make your own. Bleach is effective. I'm not going to recommend it. You're going to hear why in a few minutes. We've got bottles we use a product called a Benefect. We buy this pre-made. Actually, we're buying it now in 50-gallon drums. We have it sent to our facility, and we fill up our own buckets of the Benefect. And I also use, honestly, we use these, not this one. Which one do we use? Oh, I don't have it. It's in just the jugs. The other BioEsk is our other product that we use. We can buy them in 50-gallon drums. You get much more bang for your buck that way. And when I show you the application methods, you're going to see how you can make it stretch a lot further as well, where you're not going to waste much of that chemical. And that's key because the stuff gets very expensive. Now, it's important. I'll go back to that screen share. What's important on determining the solution is safety. Safety for the applicator and safety for the students and the staff. So with all the chemicals, everybody knows what and how effective bleach can be at killing things or cleaning things, but we also know how dangerous bleach can be, right? Bleach gets on your skin, you're going to get abrasions, you can get burns. And I remember after the floods of 2010 in Rhode Island, FEMA was handing out bottles of bleach for people to clean mold in their homes. And one of the biggest issues that they're having, not only is it not effective agent for mold remediation, is people were getting burns on their faces, on their arms. They're spraying it overhead, and they're breathing in the fumes, and the fumes can actually burn your lungs. So I'm not a fan of bleach in the application of spraying it all around. So we as a company decided to, especially with COVID, we only use plant-based, botanically based disinfectants. Thymol is the #1 ingredient in both of these, but essentially it's a vinegar, thyme, lemon juice type concoction, if you will, that is fully safe. You can drink it and you won't be harmed. You can get in your skin and you won't be harmed. And so one of the things Brian and I talked about as we were talking about this is the risk for dermatitis, right? And so we may not have, when you apply a chemical to a surface, the dwell time is going to be critical as well. So how long that needs to sit on that surface, you need to read the SDS sheet or the label and that changes. That's anywhere from usually 1 to 3 minutes where that surface needs to stay wet, right? Stay with that surface, let it air dry. You don't want to go spray, wipe, and that's it. Spray, let it sit, and then you can clean or wipe it off. But the concern is, especially with young kids, my opinion with the young kids as their bodies are developing, is the touch of the chemicals. And we don't know the effect that certain chemicals may have on one's skin, especially, and even if it's dry, I don't know. I think kids probably lick things would be my guess, and touch things and then touch their mouths and stuff. So all of a sudden, desks have been cleaned with a certain chemical and then they're touching it and who knows? So the plant-based stuff provides a level of safety that we know, one, is effective against the coronavirus, but also is safe for human contact. And to me, that's really, really critical. So again, on the screen are the two that I recommend: BioEsk Solutions and Botanical Decon 30. Those are great. We've been very happy. We've used them at several universities. We've used them in some schools already. We're using them right now at 2 major universities in Southern New England as students are moving back. And the other thing I want to caution as we talk about the different chemicals too. So I'm not a fan of bleach. With the exception of that Clorox, the Clorox, we'll talk about that machine as well. But I like the plant-based things. I want to caution everybody on the snake oil that's out there. there are people that are opportunistic when it comes to this. So there's several companies in Rhode Island that popped up out of the blue. And I know this because I generally know the restoration guys that are out there, the cleaning guys that are doing cleaning, and they're COVID-19 experts. And they've come with certain technologies. I've been on some calls as well with one out of Europe. It's a German-based company that has a product that bonds to surfaces, and they're saying it'll disinfect that surface for up to a year. Now, it may work. I don't know. Certainly, I'm intrigued by that. It sounds fantastic. It sounds like a great idea. It's a slight coating, gives it a slight sheen too. So it's almost like a paint. We do know from mold and from other microorganisms that they can still, that biofilms exist. So if I touch a surface, when I touch this cup here, I left behind a biofilm. My fingerprints are still there, right? And so what some suggest is, well, the coatings don't work because biofilms will naturally start to grow, and then the microorganisms can grow on those biofilms. I just want to caution for people that are, for products that are over-promising. The most simplest method to do is to clean. And you can clean with soap and water. You can wipe things off with a rag. That's more effective than any other methodology that's out there. Is cleaning, staying on top of all that. You know, with my office here, and we've been operational really since this started. We have our own distancing policies and we have our office policies, but we're cleaning our office on a very, very regular basis, daily and then weekly fogging. And that's the steps that we decided for our company that work best for us. And so you have to follow the state's recommendations for cleaning, and certainly do that, but know that there are products out there that are junk that you want to avoid. So what I leave you with that would be, if you're hearing of something that sounds too good to be true, send it over to me. Let me know about it. I'll do the research for you and give you my thoughts on it. I'd love, because if if there's something better, I want to know about it as well. But I'll do the research for you and give you I'll maybe even try it. Okay. The next thing would be, let's see, storage. I want to talk about storage of the chemicals as well. So a few things. The most important thing you can do on any chemical is, well, I don't know if you guys can see, I'll get the screen up. I was going to say is read the labels, right, on the back. So go through, take whatever chemicals that you are using, read the labels, make sure you understand the dwell time, make sure you understand the methodologies of which that manufacturer recommends you apply it. Do you apply it through an airless sprayer? Do you apply it through wiping down? Do you apply it through a fogger? What have you? That's really important too. Dwell time, certainly important. Storage is important. Where are you storing your chemicals? What's the temperature that they're being stored at? Is absolutely critical, because that will affect their efficacy. All right, if they're stored and it's 90 degrees, 100 degrees in your storage area because it's still summertime, that maybe the plastic's leaching into that chemical. I don't know. If it freezes, does that determine, does that affect its efficacy if we go into winter with this stuff? So understanding that, and then looking at your SDS sheets. Okay, so here's the two, and make sure that you have whatever you have, whatever you're using, make sure you keep your SDS sheets on file. They're all available online for most reputable companies or chemicals that are out there. But the key would be have these on site. We don't know if parents are going to complain, if parents are going to say a child is sick from, maybe they ask. I'm not sure. That's something you have to decide as a school, what you want to share or not share with what chemicals are being used. But we know parents and staff are going to ask, and understanding what you are actually using is going to be critical. Protecting your liability and what you're using too. All right. So the methodologies for cleaning. You want an EPA-approved disinfectant. I made my recommendations on those. You want to follow directions on the label, clean the surfaces first, and then how they're going to be disinfected. Make sure it has a proper dwell time. Wear gloves. Although I'm going to show you a little a fun thing. I'm going to spin the computer around in a minute. And then where do you store your chemicals? I also want to remind you, if you're using any kind of bleach or Clorox type chemicals, do not mix chemicals with other chemicals. If you have a sprayer, okay, do not use that sprayer for bleach and then put something else in it the next day. If it's bleach, it's just bleach and it's forever just bleach. If it's the only thing that you could add to, I would say, would be warm water or dish soap, a surfactant. Dish soap sometimes is really effective to mix in with some stuff. I wouldn't use it for COVID, so we won't go down that. But make sure you could have all kinds of issues from fumes coming out. It could be toxic. It could be deadly. So be very careful not to mix any type of chemicals. Really, really important. And then lastly, on the chemicals, lock them up. Make sure they're in a locked closet or facility, wherever it's going to be, that there's no access to people that shouldn't be touching them. Make sure they're under lock and key. All right, let's see. Let's go to this next slide here. All right, so I want to talk a few minutes about fogging versus disinfecting. And then you got the electrostatic sprayers. Some of the schools I know have these and have had really good success with those as well, and how those use. So I'm going to talk about the importance of uniformity when attacking something small like this. Foggers, we talked about the COVID virus is down to 0.1 microns in size. The fogging droplets tend to be 5 to 50 microns in size. And the fogging is going to uniform. I'm going to show you one in a minute. Fogging is going to uniformly spray a mist, a fog that stays airborne for a longer period of time. It gets into greater spaces, these more interstitial spaces, the nooks and crannies. And because it can stay airborne, it settles more uniformly as well to create a better disinfection. Whereas misting, so your spray bottles that you grab and you squirt, you're going to see that does not stay airborne. That drops down in seconds, and you're going to see, just like in the diagram here, it says the other guys, where you get all variety of droplets, different size, no uniformity to it. So I'm going to try a little experiment here. I'm going to turn my computer around and see if I can do this. All right, stop share. I'm back on, I think. Brian, am I on? I don't see myself, but I should be. I see
You stopped sharing.
What am I? Can you see me still or no?
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh, perfect. All right, good. So I'm going to turn my computer around here. I don't know if this is going to work, but I want to give you guys a little better tutorial. Let's see here. All right. All right. So when I was talking about the sprayers, something like this, spray bottles, and then I've got only one fogger here. The others are on. This is our oldest fogger, but this is an oldie. I've had this one for a long time. This is one of our fogging machines that we've used for years. And right now, this has both my sprayers here have the Benefect botanical disinfectant in it. And so, how this works. Turn that on. You probably can't see it. I'm going to take this. I'm going to try and show you. All right. Now, I want to tell you something. I'm obviously comfortable with the botanical disinfectants because I just sprayed that in my office without a mask and without gloves on. So not saying you should do that, but that shows you my comfort level. So here's the sprayer. It's 2 sprays. It's soaked heavy, and it's kind of hard to tell. I guess you can't really see in the picture, but random droplet sizes all over, and it's very soaked and heavy. Whereas if you could see closely, I don't think it's coming out on here, we have a uniform spread, and this is just slightly damp. And so the difference, what it tells me, one, not only do I get a more uniform spread of the chemical, I use far less. So if that's important to not waste the chemicals that you're using, then the fogger is a much more efficient way. Now, I know the schools don't necessarily have them. You can order them online, and again, if you want a link to where to buy your own, I can certainly provide that. They're around $400 or $500. I can help you find the right one that would work for you guys, or we can talk about the next steps when a student tests positive, and if you want to consider outsourcing the cleaning portion or some of the disinfecting part. Okay, I'm gonna switch back and we'll sit down over here. let's see, where was I? Some questions. So, okay, so, and then since we're on that, the electrostatic disinfecting guns are fantastic. There's an application for them. I'm not super familiar with if it's a modified bleach chemical that's on the, for the electrostatics, but I know how that works. It ionizes the chemical in a way so it adheres and it kind of, it wraps in, right, to hit those undersides of the doorknobs. Some of the spaces that are a little bit to adhere to the surfaces more uniformly as well. So they're fantastic. If you have an opportunity to purchase one of those, I think they're pretty expensive, $3 to $4 grand. I would recommend it. I know Brown's been using the Brown University has a handful on campus that they've been using as their own in-house staff, and a couple of towns in Rhode Island have also been using them and have had very good luck. So that's a great system. It's a great way to do it. I wouldn't let that take the place of just wiping down and cleaning though either. Okay, so I'll go back to the next question. So that was bus companies. Okay. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is the steps in the process. What do you do if a student or staff member tests positive? And I think this is kind of a dialogue that we could have too, Q&A. There are CDC guidelines. The governor's released her recommendations from the experts as well on how do we handle when somebody tests positive. So taking that information that's out there, what the state of Rhode Island has released, part of that, the number one thing is safety, right? Safety for everybody. We want to make sure we want to stop the spread as best that we can and protect everybody as best we can. And then part of it is going to be the liability aspect. Are we following proper protocol? Are we going through the right chains of command to make sure that we're doing everything that we can in accordance with the state recommendations? So first thing you want to do, if it's in a school and you found a student test positive, is you want to seal off those areas. Do property contact tracing. Where was that staff member? Where was that student? And those areas need to be sectioned off. I recommend you do that with some negative air. CDC says open a window or windows and get some, but make sure those doors are closed, those areas are sealed off, and nobody else is going into it. After that's done, it's highly recommended that nobody goes in that area for the next 24 hours. We don't know how long coronavirus can stay airborne. Down to 0.1 micron, 1-2 microns in size. Molds, again, I can speak to this. Mold spores are 1 to 2 microns in size. Mold spores, aspergillus, can stay airborne up to 24 hours. It's going to take about 24 hours for an aspergillus spore to fall from an 8-foot ceiling down to the floor. And that's 1 to 2 microns. Now, the virus is about 1/10 that size, so we can imagine it can stay airborne with a little bit of air current very, very easily. So it's recommended that the areas be shut down for 24 hours before even cleaning takes place, because we want to give everything an opportunity to kind of settle. Unless you're going in with full PPE, your suits and your masks and stuff too. My guys, when we're cleaning a COVID positive environment, they're suited up. They're wearing masks. They're protecting themselves as well, because we don't know to the extent what's actually airborne. So shut down that area, create a negative pressure if you can, or open the windows, and don't allow access even for the cleaning team. If you have a cleaning team in your school, or if you're considering outsourcing, let it sit for 24 hours. We've offered, and then, okay, so now that's done, that's closed off. And now you want to go into that space the next day. Let's just say you're going in to clean that space. Certainly gloves, certainly a mask. I would recommend an N95 or P100 mask or respirator. And every surface needs to be cleaned 8 feet down. And when I say every surface, we're talking not just the same things that you've been doing with the mice and the keyboards and the desktops, but you want to do undersides of things, everything 8 feet down. It's a thorough disinfection and cleaning. The electrostatic sprayers and the foggers will help get into those other spaces and those interstitial spaces to create a disinfection level that's better than just spraying the spray guns. the once an area has been cleaned up, let it sit. Make sure it sits for the period of time. It might be that the chemical that you're using recommends before it's safe for occupancy. So in the case of anything that we do, we recommend a base of 30 minutes. If I'm going to go through and fog a whole building, I'm recommending you wait 30 minutes for that to settle before you can go back in. You'll still smell stuff, but that's okay. So we recommend that before it's safe for occupancy by anybody else. And you can know that if it's a COVID hotspot and you guys cleaned an area or disinfected an area, and you used a botanically based chemical, well, and a student breathes in those fumes or that air, then that's going to be safe or safer than, you know, a potentially toxic chemical, what have you. I'd also, all right, so, and then we've offered, and there's others, you want to be careful about the certified clean buildings and stuff too, but again, I'm a resource for you guys. So if anybody has any questions after this, or hey, and you're gonna clean it yourself, but you want to make sure that it's done, just give me a shout. I'm happy to talk you through it and walk you guys through specific examples, because classrooms change, right? I mean, schools are all different sizes, and the ductwork's different, and the layouts are all different. So I'm happy to help and give my my recommendations on how to properly clean any given area. And certainly available to come out and help you guys in the event that somebody does test positive and you want to look for another outside person to come in and help your school out. Last couple of things I wanted to talk about was signage. And I'm going to recommend that you go over the top. Maybe you probably already have on signage around your school about washing your hands. I mean, the best things that you can do to keep students safe, prevent the spread of COVID is socially distant the students and staff and you from each other, washing your hands obsessively a lot. Using hand sanitizer. So signage around your school for wash your hands, reminding the kids and the staff, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Signage to reminders to stay distant, to use disinfectants, your hand sanitizers, what have you. And then backup masks. And I'm sure I haven't really anybody's talked about this, but you know, if I'm wearing a mask for 2 hours and it's getting gross, and I sneeze or a kid sneezes in that, right? What's going to happen and who's going to handle that and stuff too. So you want to make sure you got proper places to dispose of things too. So if they're doing that, you guys have ongoing trash receptacles and things as well. And then you can also take the same application into cars, buses, cruisers, other kinds of vehicles and stuff too. So if the buses are being cleaned daily, certainly recommend that they're cleaned. I'd recommend they're cleaned probably after every time kids are on it, twice a day that would be. But seat backs all around, you know, everything, the kids are going to be touching the buses on a regular basis, and that's really important to touch that vinyl and clean that. I think that's what I got. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I went through my list. So Brian, are you off? Can you speak?
Man, I think you covered everything that we discussed.
Was there? I didn't miss anything right there that you wanted me to hit on?
No, I think you did an excellent job, man. This is really informative.
So I got a couple of, I think, couple more questions about other products. Okay, so I got to write these down because I'm going to have to get back to both of you on this. So the Zunu Z71, I'm not familiar with it, but I can certainly look that one up. And then what was the other one? I know the Matrix BioShield. That's a good product. We've used that before. I got to just double check on that. I think I actually have some of that in my shop here. So I've seen
there was a second part to that question about the Signet Neutral
on that.
DS1.
Oh yeah, all right. So clean the virus first. I don't believe that. I got to see the data. So the question Tina wrote was, our bus company wants to use Zuno Z71, which claims kills the virus for up to 30 days. Any recommendations? If we do not agree, they'll use Signet Neutral on a daily basis. So daily cleaning, 100%. There are parts of the world in Europe and in Japan that are using, you know, they've got different regulations for the efficacy and determining how well the product works. It may work. I don't honestly know right now for that 30. I would love it if it did. I think that's fantastic, and we know technology improves on a regular basis. I'd have to do a little research, and I'd ask them for the efficacy documents. Where is there scientific data to show that it can work in the field outside of a laboratory for 30 days? Because here's what happens. In a laboratory, you can apply something, okay? It sits, and then 12 days in, they put some virus on it, and they look under the microscope and the virus is dead, or to whatever they're doing for their testing. It's all done in a lab, and I can tell you, I can speak from $1 million worth of experience. We've been burned by bad products before. As a company, I've tried to embrace certain technologies, and sometimes they just don't work. And so what happens in the field, though, on a bus, you've got air currents, you've got constant wind from the windows being open and closed, but the most important is you have hands constantly wiping those seat backs. Kids are going to be grabbing the seats, they're going to be touching it, they're going to be sneezing on them, what have you. And maybe not, maybe they'll be doing this, I don't know, but I would certainly caution a 30-day promise on the buses, and I think it makes sense that they'd want to sell that, and certainly as a school. And if it works, fantastic, but I would, the second I touch something, you start to wear it off. So I'd find a bonding agent with it.
I'd also be concerned with the, what's in this stuff that can kill stuff for 30 days on it, and how does that work with, skin dermatitis and things, because there's got to be some type of active ingredient there, right?
I have the chemical sheet that I can send to you. They have sent us some backup documents to try, to show us that it works. Obviously it's not my wheelhouse. So, but that's what they're claiming, and that's what they want to use. So we were concerned.
Eric, why don't you throw your email in the chat function there, and then everyone can take down your email address, and if they have further follow-up questions, they can send them there. Yeah, so everyone, he just put his email address in the chat function. You want to take a look, Eric at EC.
Yeah, I'll say it too. So it's Eric at restore.com, ERIC at EC Echo Charlie restore.com. And my cell phone, feel free, you can call or you can text me too. I'm a big texter. It's fine. It's way easier sometimes. 401-862-3361. That's my cell phone. It's on 24/7. You guys can reach me weekends after hours. I don't care. I'm used to it.
One last question here. Avastat D, do you know anything about it?
No, I'm not familiar with that one either. So these are all specific chemical questions. And like I said, as I'm going through the list of the EPA's list, I'm like, it was just overwhelming. I was hoping to come to you guys with real specifics. I gave you the 2 chemicals that I trust and I like the most. I think in the school setting would be the best. There are other botanically based chemicals out there. So I'd get the SDS sheets, read those, see what the active ingredients are, and then use that. But that's going to be critical for you guys to determine that you're confident, not just in its efficacy at killing coronavirus, but also in the safety for the people in the school, right? Staff and students and yourself and the applicators of it, to make sure that, hey, if this gets on my skin, am I going to get a rash? Are you guys opening yourselves up as a school to any kind of liability for dermatitis for the chemicals that you use, with students? So that's the stuff you just want to be careful of.
Good. Well, there's no other questions. I think this is excellent, Eric. Thank you very much. We have another session coming up with the municipalities later on this morning. So again, if you have any other questions, you can reach out to myself, Brian Murray. So bmurray@ritrust.com, or you can reach out to Eric at his email that he gave you down there. We'll try and give you any assistance we can as you try and figure out all these different chemicals and how to use them properly and safely. So if that is all, then we will end the session today. And thank you, everybody, for attending. Appreciate it.
Real quick, Tina, Ned, and Richard, or anybody else, but if you guys just send me a quick email. I wrote down your names with the chemicals. I'm going to look them up over the next day or so. But feel free, anybody else, to just email me with any chemical questions. But if I can get your emails, I can respond to you guys specifically on that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Eric. Appreciate it. Good job.
Thanks.